All right, the time is now 6:07. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. At this time, if you'd like to stand up for an invocation and pledge of allegiance. Mark, if you can lead us in a quick invocation, please.
Let's pray. Father, we thank you for today. We thank you for Los Fresnos. We thank you for all of our employees and the people that work so hard every day for Los Fresnos. We thank you for our elected officials that give of their time freely and just donate and give so much back to the community. We thank you. Be with them as they make decisions, and may they always be for the betterment of Los Fresnos. Continue to bless us in Jesus' name, amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any visitors' remarks? No. Okay. We'll go to open the public hearing at 6:08. This public hearing is to discuss changes to the TX CDBG project number CDV21-095 as part of the amendment to remove the sewer improvement work along 2nd Street between North Alamo Street and Arroyo Boulevard. Time is 6:08.
I'll give a summary in case anybody would like to comment. Initially, there was a sewer line that ran from not quite Arroyo, but just before the alley that serves Wells Fargo there, all the way to Alamo Street. Prior years, when we did widening of 1847, that was rerouted, so that was still on the books as active, and so now we no longer need to do that. So in order to do it for the grant that that whole project is part of, we have to officially have a public hearing to say we're removing that sewer connection for that part. And then the other piece is the one behind Baptist Church. There was a water line that's real close to the sewer line, so the regulations now, there's a certain distance that have to be apart. So before we can do the sewer, we have to move the water line. So that's what the public hearing's about.
Thank you, Mark. And it's 6:10. Is there nobody's here for the public hearing? We can definitely move on and move on and close it at 6:10. Moving on to consent agenda items. We have a total of 10 consent agenda items. Is there any that the council would like to pull, or is there a motion to be made?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
I'll second.
Okay, so motion has been made to approve all 10 consent agenda items. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. Moving on to action item number 1. Discussion and action to pass Resolution 7-2024, authorizing the submission of an amendment for TX CDBG project number CDV21-095 to remove the sewer improvement work along 2nd Street between North Alamo Street and Arroyo Boulevard.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this is the same location that we just talked about for the public hearing. It's just officially removing that from the grant process.
Is there a motion to be made? Or any questions or discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve, to pass the Resolution 7-2024 authorization, the submission of an amendment for TX CDBG project number CDV21-0095 to remove the sewer improvement work along 2nd Street between North Alamo Street and Arroyo Boulevard.
Okay, motion has been made by Commissioner Fernandez.
I'll second.
And seconded by Councilman
Vincent.
Vincent, sorry. Sorry, Vincent. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. Discussion and action to improve change order number 1 for TX CDBG project number CDV 21-0095.
the good part of that project is it was a deduct, and it was money that we were adding to it. So the savings on that is $65,476. So we get to keep that and use it for another project down the line. Recommend approval.
Thank you, Mark. Is there a motion to be made or any questions or comments about this particular action item?
Go ahead and make a motion to approve the change order number 1 for TX CDBG, project number CDB 210095.
I'll second.
Okay, motion has been made by Councilman Escobedo and Councilwoman Fernandez. All those in favor signify by saying aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. Action item number 3 reads, consideration and action to approve a memorandum of understanding between the City of Los Fresnos and the Lower Rio Grande Valley TPDES Stormwater Task Force Partnership Incorporated for a representative appointment to the Regional Lower Rio Grande Valley TPDES Stormwater Task Force.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this is a consortium that we've been a part of for a little over 10 years, probably closer to 15. And they help us with the stormwater regulations and rules. It's quite extensive these days and gets more and more all the time to be sure that all of our drainage water is marked and drains, and hopefully not, people don't pour other things down our drains throughout the city, as well as Resaca's. And you'll see a lot of signage around that indicates that. They help us stay compliant, and probably about 2/3 of the cities in the valleys work through this consortium, especially the smaller cities that don't have the staff to follow those regulations as closely, and so they keep up with them and help us to make that. So that amount is $14,390 per 40 cents per year. You can see it's for a 5-year. You can see the last 5-year period was just a little bit under 12,000. It has gone up, but not substantially, and it is good. We haven't been on the end of any grants for ourselves, but they've done a lot of grants for this region and helped us in other ways for regional projects, and they will continue to do that. We are working with them on hopefully a grant that will help us here too.
Mark, do we have to appoint a representative for this, a particular person, or is that just?
It's Raul Garcia. I think we usually designate myself, and then I designate whoever the person is, but it's Raul's the one that he certified stormwater, him and Augustine Lopez, so both of them, but Raul's the lead on it.
Any questions or comments from the council? If not, there's a motion to be made.
I'll make a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding between the City of Los Fresnos and the Lower Rio Grande Valley TPDES Stormwater Task Force Partnership for representative appointment to the Regional Lower Rio Grande Valley TPDES Stormwater Task Force.
Okay, motion has been made by Councilman Escobedo
I'll second.
and seconded by Councilwoman Fernandez. All those in favor signify by saying aye, raise your hand. Aye. And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. Consideration and action to accept bids submitted to replace water ground storage tank number 3, authorize the city manager to issue a contract, and approve the budget amendment. Mark?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this is the third of our storage tanks. You all know we have the water tower, everybody sees that. We replaced the large tank that's at the water plant. It's about 128,000 gallons, 130,000 gallons. It sits on the ground, and storage before it goes out into the distribution line. This one's about an 80,000 gallon tank. We're going to use ARPA funds that we got through the COVID. $150,000 we had kind of budgeted a few years ago, about 198,000, and so, but bids came in good, so it's Ferguson System Services. They're the one that actually did the other tank and actually have done the work at the water plant, so they're familiar with our plan and our operation, so that's our recommendation.
How many gallons was it going to hold again?
This one's about 80,000
Oh, wow.
gallons.
And where will it be located, do you know?
Right next to the water plant. If you
Okay.
drive up, you'll see two large tanks. It's the smaller of the one.
Okay. Any questions from the council? If not, if there's an action to be taken?
I'll make a motion to approve the acceptance bids submitted to replace the water ground storage tank number 3, authorized by city managers to issue contract and to approve the budget amendment.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion has been made by Commissioner Fernandez and seconded by Commissioner Escobedo. All those in favor signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Aye. And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. Consideration and action to upgrade Los Fresnos Police Department patrol vehicle cameras and officer body cameras. Mark?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I'll turn it over to PD in just a minute, but this is one of those things that, 30 years ago, you didn't have that expense. But today, it's very, very important. Really, I don't think that DA even allows you to submit something if you don't have a camera, so it's very important. The cameras that we have are 6 years old, I believe, and they told us that it will no longer support it as of December. So it's very old technology, and so staff has done a lot of work on looking at different options, and they've come up with one. So Charlie's gonna present for all of our vehicles and all of our officers for cameras.
Thank you for being here, Mr. Banda.
Thank you. It's about 6 years old. We purchased this system back in 2018. When we purchased it, it was WatchGuard. It transferred over to Motorola. And after looking at several options, obviously Motorola is one of the Cadillac systems that we have out there for these types of body cameras as well as unit cameras. The quote that we have right now, it looks steep, it looks high, $260,000 more or less for a 5-year term. In other words, we would be paying it off in 5 years. It would be a system that we would keep. It would be a system that it would equip 10 patrol units, 18 officers, 17 officers, and we would have one body camera for spare if needed. If one breaks or whatever, we have one ready to go. We would also equip one interview room as well with this system. Now, the difference between 2018 and 2024, besides the technology being more advanced, is the pricing. But with that pricing also comes a lot of more stuff included with the cameras. It's no longer just a recording system that records a conversation or video that we have right now. What we're looking into switching over is a cloud-based system, which is what we currently have is a server base, which is more maintenance for our IT and for us as well. With this cloud-based system, we would have unlimited storage space. In 5 years, 6 years, we went through all the storage space that we could possibly get in the system. Right now, as it is during courts, we have to go back and delete constantly old videos that were saved because the storage system is full. What we're being told with this cloud-based system is we have unlimited storage system, so we'll never have to worry about storage itself. It has a lot more add-ons as well that we have. It has the capability, obviously, of sharing files with the DA's office. As it is right now, the DA's does no longer want CD copies. They actually want it either on a zip file, on a hard drive, or even upload it to the cloud. With this system, we're gonna be able to have that capability of uploading our cases to the DA's office through the cloud. We have a lot more requests when it comes to open records. A lot of the times these videos have people in the videos that we can't release the video because they're sharing more information from other people. With this new system, we have the capability of redacting videos so we could release more videos to the public that is requesting it. Transcript as well, words, we could go back and if they said a word, a keyword that we're focused on, all we have to do is type it in. We have the capability of live streaming. In other words, if our guys are out there on the field and a big situation goes on, barricaded subject, we're able to, from home or on the way to the station, we're able to go into the live stream and actually see the video from the units. It's also a add-on for the body cams, but we would actually have to support them with SIM cards, like a cellular phone card, to actually be able, but it does have that capability. It has the ability to download on the spot. If they do a traffic stop right here in front of the city hall, they go back in service, that video starts downloading immediately, when right now the vehicles have to actually go to the station to get the network and start downloading the videos. Many things that comes with this new system. I'm pointing out the main ones that interested us. It has GPS capability. You could use it from your phone as well. What else am I missing? I'm trying to think here. But yes, we're going from a system that could only record to now we have more capabilities and add-ons. Also, it has a license plate readers. Since we're here in the valley, all these vehicles being stolen, the cameras itself record. If we're going down the highway and there's a vehicle, it'll catch that license plate. And if it's stolen, if it's in the system as stolen, it'll give us an alert on the actual system and show us, hey, that vehicle that just passed you is reported stolen, and we could go back out there and detain them or whatever. So it's more things than just the camera system. I mean, it has a lot of add-ons, and right now we're getting a quote with all these add-ons, and you know, that's what we're coming up to the council for.
Mr. Bada, was this something that they didn't have before, these capabilities, or are these all new capabilities that just came out with the technology?
Yes, these capabilities weren't offered back then. Back then, it was just a simple record and good luck. But now there's more and more options and capabilities and software on this.
So like you can be at home and you can be checking who's where, like you as a supervisor can be looking or in the office?
On the units, if the actual camera is recording, yes. So if they're on the traffic stop and the camera is recording, you could do a live streaming of that unit, the unit cam, not the body cam. Yes, but there is also an add-on where if we would want to equip the 18 cameras, we could, but that would be more, yes, maybe something to look at for the future, but they do have that capability.
That's what I'm gonna ask for safety reason, having those cameras, you know, because I've seen a lot of videos and stuff like that where the car's recording, but then you lose because somebody got shot or something like that, but you don't see the camera of the cop, or nobody else sees it. So I think that feature might be something that, you know, in the future we need to plan for, because I think safety-wise for your officers should be something that, you know, in case he doesn't respond or something like that, you'll be able to see their camera. So I think that feature should be something that we look into for the future.
It has add-on features as well that we could look at where the camera actually turns on when the officers unholster either their duty weapon or their taser. It is an extra add-on as well, but they do have that capability. Also, what we're getting with this is the capability of a video if there's multiple officers. Right now, we want to see the video. We have to go to each of their cameras and try to look at one and then the other one and try to figure it out. With this new system, it could actually do it all at once. So if there was 3 officers at a location of a scene, we could actually view all three cameras, all their body cams and their video cameras all at once in one feature. We don't have to go and look for each camera and just watch one video and then the other. We could actually watch them all at the same time simultaneously.
Wow.
So exactly how many cameras, officers, and
17.
vehicles are we looking at?
We have 10 patrol units that we would equip. We have 12 patrol officers, 2 code enforcement officers, 2 CID officers, 1 warrant officer, and we would have 1 spare camera for a total of 18 body cams, 10 patrol unit cameras, and one of those, we're gonna have an extra one, well, it's not an extra one, it's another device, another camera system for an interview room as well. And all this is linked into the same program, so all the files are saved in that cloud-based system.
Is there warranty on these cameras in case they were to get damaged? Is that something part of the plan?
We do have on the actual quote itself, it does cover the 5-year term for the cameras. Obviously, if it's something that is not accidental, it was, purposely done, but most of the warranty, what they've told us, they will cover it for the 5-year term that we're doing.
In 2018, what did it cost back then, Mark? And then what is it compared to what it costs today? I mean, based on the old camera system, what was the price? 70?
Like 70,000 and then a $21,000 a year maintenance fee on it, so, yeah, about half. When you look at, you put it all together. Can you explain how the recording works on the vehicle? It's always recording, right? How about the officers? I know on the vehicle it is, but how about the officers? You have to turn it on?
Well, with the lights, it'll sync to the actual unit. There's gonna be a modem in the unit, so when these officers actually activate their lights, the camera for the unit activates and it goes back, and we could set the time either from 30, 45 seconds to a whole minute or minute and a half, where it will go back and record that time, and we could actually program both the body cam and the unit cam. Besides the automatic turning on, we could manually turn on our body cams and manually turn on the patrol unit camera as well at this time, with this new unit as well. Yes.
I can see the advantage for this, simply because I'm ex-law enforcement, but not just safety of the officers, but protects us against liabilities, false allegation claims. And that would be a major cost if something went up with that. That would definitely protect us.
I would look, once this is approved, into seeing what is the cost on that extra add-on that I mentioned about the camera, the body camera, and maybe bring it back to us later, once this one's approved, and see if it's something that we can add to it. Because I think that's a safety issue for you guys. It's important to have it. And if it's not that much, I mean, we should go ahead and look into it too.
Yes, sir.
We can do that.
Awesome. Super excited about the upgrade. I know it's much needed, and yeah, can't wait to see it happen. Is there a motion to be made?
I'll make a motion to approve the upgrade Los Fresnos Police Department patrol vehicles, cameras, and officer body cameras.
I'll
Go ahead.
Councilwoman Fernandez and Councilman Vincent has go ahead and made the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Raise your hand. Aye. And all those who don't approve, then the motion carries. Sorry. Consideration and action to approve fleet management services with Enterprise Fleet Management.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, as we begin kind of starting the budget process several months ago, we had some discussions about new units and funding new units, and we've explored this option before. And so we explored it again with about leasing vehicles. There's some pros and cons to purchasing outright and doing the way we've been doing it. There's some pros and cons to leasing it. And so we wanted to bring this to you, what we have, and see if we can get a direction that we want to move in, so that in the coming months in July and August, we'll be working on budgets and this kind of a first step to that. So I'm going to turn it over to Paul Sherflet with Enterprise Fleet Management. He's one that I've been working with, and let him go. He'll have a presentation, but then we'll have plenty of time for questions.
Good afternoon, welcome.
Thank you for having me, folks, Mr. Mayor, council persons. Yeah, so the common way that we're brought into these situations is it's identified that there's an aging fleet with the city or county. Many times the vehicles have gone beyond typical safety standards that are commonplace, that are pretty important according to NHTSA and the travel administrations. The current state that we came into as City of Los Fresnos was that 22% of the fleet was 10 years of age or older. The average age was 7.1 years. We've identified opportunity to reduce maintenance costs by 68%, fuel costs by 20%, better taking advantage of the state buying power that the city has access to, and selling vehicles at the right time. Over the next 10 years, we're estimating $184,000 in savings over the current fleet budget. Let's see here. Okay, so currently 19% of the vehicles in the fleet are older than 2012, which predates electronic stability control. And then 41% of the vehicles are older than 2017, which has everything from forward collision warning, blind spot warning, and current crash test standards. We, if you want to go to the next, we can move on to the next portion of it. There you go. Okay, so the way that we evaluated the savings opportunity is by looking at the annual mileage patterns of each one of the vehicles. There you go. And out of the 27 vehicles we evaluated, this was for the police, the court, the streets, parks, water, sewer, and seniors departments. There's 27 vehicles. The annual maintenance in fiscal year 23 was $228 per month per vehicle on average, and that was provided by the city. We are trending this last 6-month period toward a monthly average, annualized monthly average, each vehicle costing $395 per month in maintenance and mechanical repairs. So a pretty substantial increase in labor rates and part costs is the main cost increase there. The annual miles of the fleet overall is about 10,000 miles. And the current MPG estimate based on all makes and models is 13 miles per gallon. We would be reducing the current 9-year-old cycle to an average of 4.71 years between turnover of vehicles. It would reduce the maintenance cost to $70 per month, which would be a fixed rate cost, and improve the miles per gallon significantly. So what we looked at is an average of 3 annual acquisitions and what the purchase cost of those acquisitions were, the amount of resale that is coming in as a part of turning over those units, the current maintenance cost, which we have $73,000 in the example here, but this year we're turning toward $128,000. And then fuel cost gives us a total fleet budget. So if you look at that orange line, that's on average what you guys are typically spending on an annual basis. And over the next 10 years, we would transition from purchasing vehicles to an open-ended equity lease where the city would be able to spread out the acquisition cost of vehicles over a number of years to maximize the capital budget while reducing the operating costs and taking advantage of higher fleet equity by selling vehicles at the right time before they're, fully depreciated in their value. The overall net savings over the next 10 years would be $184,000, and it would improve the estimated equity of the fleet at that time to $104,000.
So this is like a lease program then, instead of us riding these cars till they get to like 200,000 miles and then get rid of them, we got a new, fresh machine, so the maintenance cost goes from, what you said, $390 to $70 per maintenance. And then they get about 13 miles a gallon, so on these newer vehicles, you can get 20 miles a gallon or something. So that's less money spent on.
With the exception of the police fleet, yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying, with the police vehicles, it would be different, but we would have new vehicles for all the city employees to use, correct, Mark?
Yes, that's correct. One of the things that we saw, which y'all been part of that decision-making process more strongly on the police vehicles, we finally got caught up with them, but we saw a huge spike in maintenance costs as they got older, naturally. With a average 4.7, that doesn't mean that all of them will be 4.7. There'll be some, probably 6.
Yeah,
and depending on where it's good to resell versus keep it. But usually within that time frame, you don't have air conditioning problems and you don't have transmission problems, and so that's what we saw, the spike over the last 2 years. It's better now that we have newer units in PD, but we're having more problems Public Works because we've said, oh, we can make it one more year, and then you get a couple transmissions, a couple air conditions repairs, and those are huge dollars that spike it to those numbers that he's talking about. So the idea is this would be keeping them newer for that. You mentioned open-ended lease.
Yeah,
Can you explain that?
Yeah, sure. Can we roll to the next couple?
Do you have it on that one or the other?
It's on the other,
The other presentation?
yeah, the other presentation. But yeah, the general concept, obviously over 60+ years of operating one of the largest fleets in the world on our rent-a-car side, we've built a lot of buying power. We've built a lot of philosophy that we try to share with municipalities out there and also commercial clients. The general concept is that each asset that you guys own, whether it be a printer or a vehicle, has a point of diminishing returns. We work with over 400 government entities throughout the country that we are actively kind of teaching and helping them monitor all these different costs. So from a fleet management aspect, and really that's what my portion of enterprise does, is help with the tracking of costs, the ease of use for all the operators in terms of programs that will help them get maintenance done quickly. But the crux of it all is really finding out when is the right time to sell the vehicles. For us, we have 2 million vehicles across the world that we operate. So if we make a mistake by selling a vehicle in March versus April that costs us $100, that's a $200 million mistake. So we really dial in these numbers to watch our bottom line. If you kind of go to the next one there, the math equation really takes into account what you can buy and then eventually sell a vehicle for at any given time, which is the depreciation line there. Fuel and maintenance costs obviously rise over time, especially after you get out of the factory, powertrain warranty. Governments have a different advantage too, where you guys are buying vehicles $10,000 less than Joe Public, which shifts that depreciation line. And what we help you guys do is understand, is activate the concept that because you're buying vehicles better, your point of diminishing returns comes a little faster, right? And with the exception of the departments that have heavy aftermarket equipment, in most cases, in 12 to 24 months, you could actually make a profit or run on a surplus on the vehicle by buying real low and then selling high because it's still worth a lot. You haven't experienced those high maintenance costs yet. You can go to the next one there. Actually, you can skip this because we already kind of reviewed that. I'll come back to it if there's questions. So because we're not running vehicles, yeah, sorry, the next one's great. Because we're not running vehicles until they don't have any life or value left in them, there's, we believe, a better finance mechanism for paying for the vehicles than either exhausting capital budgets or even financing. The open-ended leasing concept is different than what you might have done at a dealership with a closed-end net or walkaway leases is the typical term, where in those cases you have a set mileage pattern that you're held to, you have a fixed monthly rate, and if you go above that mileage pattern or you ding up the vehicle, there's wear and tear penalties, there's mileage restrictions. Well, this is a lot more like a traditional finance, whereas the lessee, you participate in the back end, where in the walkaway lease option at a dealership, the dealer is the one who takes advantage of the back end. You pay your monthly fee, almost more like a renting of a car or truck than actually leasing or financing it. In this model, we know we're not going to run the vehicle till the wheels are absolutely falling off. In this example here, we're expecting to sell a $42,000 vehicle. 4 years later is the targeted exit point for $22,500. We're going to conservatively write it down to a $10,000 residual after that 48 months. So instead of financing or paying cash the whole $42,000, you're only financing $32,000, which allows you guys to maximize your capital budget while still reducing your operating costs.
Now, on a traditional lease, you know, you ding the rims, you damage the door, you got to pay for all that. How does that come into play with this? And it's like Public Works, you know, it's constantly out there and and you know, who knows where they're at, but how is that going to affect us?
Yeah, so most of our clients are oil and gas, construction, and city governments, county governments. We're well versed in selling those types of vehicles to the right clientele. We typically sell 113% of national auction value, which public surplus auctions kind of fit into that category because we hand sell to local wholesale dealers. So we would expect that you guys would get a higher return on your vehicles over surplus auction. But to answer your question about how it works within the lease, if we anticipated selling this vehicle for $22,500 and it had some extra dings that diminished the value by $4,000, whatever it is, a big dent or something, then instead of recapturing the difference of the principal you pay down of $10,000, you know, see that $12,500 equity, you may only get $8,500 back. But you own that back end, so there's no penalties. It just means you're going to get less for the sale. But we're being a privately held, family-owned company. We're pretty conservative in how we do those residual values and how we write that down. We want this to be a long-term success program for you, so we are pretty conservative in that pay-down schedule.
As far as the maintenance is concerned on a lease, sometimes you just go in and they service it for you. Since it's on a lease, you pay very minimal. Will there be any benefits there? I mean, obviously, the transmission goes out, we own it, we got to pay it. But on a lease, would there be some advantages to the maintenance on this, Mark? Or?
Sure, yeah. We actually have two maintenance programs that we're looking at implementing as part of the fleet management program. There would be like a transitional program where your drivers would go into any of the local shops they wanted to use, present an enterprise maintenance card. we would watchdog all the repairs, make sure only what should be done is getting done and what needs to get done gets done. And on your non-leased vehicles, that would be a pass-through cost to the city. On the leased vehicles, we actually have a fixed rate program where we look at what the anticipated maintenance and repair costs of the original lease term is, and we spread that out, almost creating like a risk pool for maintenance over all of our vehicles. And we fix and budget all of your maintenance and repairs. So if you have a transmission go out or a water pump or a fuel pump, it's all covered under the monthly rate. So that's what works great for city governments, is you're able to forecast what your costs are going to be pretty close. I mean, inflation's been tough for everybody, but pretty close for the next however long you're on the program.
One question regards to law enforcement, the police cars. Now, those do come in full, complete police packages, right?
They can. Yeah. So some of the decommissioned items, obviously, wouldn't necessarily transfer. Some of the things can transfer from vehicle to vehicle. We could do a complete new upfit. As you guys heard today, technology changes pretty rapidly in their world. So a lot of the times the equipment doesn't go from one to the other. But for most of our city and county sheriff's departments, we're delivering like a completely upfitted vehicle. And in the case of the public works, any service body, toolbox, ladder rack, stuff like that, it would come completely upfitted. That's part of, the value added of working with the fleet management company.
And annual mileage on a police unit would be what compared to the others?
We estimated 20,000 miles. Now, that's not necessarily, or excuse me, I might be misspeaking. Mark, I don't think I have that data.
He put on
30?
patrol vehicles 30.
30, okay. Yeah, sorry, I was,
What we've done historically, staff vehicles, or public works much less, because they weren't 8-hour shifts. What we did, we gave them the mileage. Sorry, I didn't push that. We gave them the mileage of all our units, and so they can go back in history and say how much mileage has been on each unit, and we try to match that with where it is. It's difficult when we move a unit from this department to another. Like Chief's vehicle went from his to Public Works, and so it's a little bit different use, so we have to take that into account. But they have looked at those mileage over a long period of time and come up with those numbers.
Okay, if we do, now, this 30,000 miles, is that going to be based on the 5-year or just annual?
I think that was annual.
Yes.
Yeah, that was annual. And those would have a very different life cycle than the majority of
Right.
the fleet. And we can go to the next slide if you have an opportunity there. Yeah, and we'll be constantly evaluating that. What we provide to you guys outside of the vehicle and the tracking programs is an account management team that's meeting with Mark and the finance team, usually about 3 to 4 times a year, depending on your needs, to provide the number crunching associated with all this analysis. So all of it flows into our customer website. Any of the maintenance, mileage records, fuel spend, all of that is available through that portal with automatic downloads into your accounting system if you want to do that. And then we're providing on-site consultation with tweaks to the plan. So if the used car market's up, we're maybe a little more bullish with replacements those years. When it's down, we'll say hang on to it for another year. If incentives are way up, we might say, hey, let's get 5 vehicles this year instead of 4, things like that. Making recommendations on utilization, move this vehicle over here, move this one over here, stuff like that.
And on any long-term breakdown or non-serviceable unit for repairs, we'll be given another vehicle to use until that's done?
That would be with with the manufacturer, under the warranty period. They've been a lot less friendly with those since the last 10, 15 years, those replacements through the dealer. But I don't think anybody's better suited than us with our relationship with manufacturers to, part of our maintenance program is direct interfacing with corporate Ford, corporate Chevy, being your liaison to get factory assistance with warranty issues and goodwill repairs, things like that. And then any temporary transportation you would need, then we can interface with our sister company, Enterprise Rent-A-Car, for a temporary solution.
So I'm looking at the fleet planning analysis, and we have for 2024, 16 own, 11 lease. We would start with 11 cars for 24?
We actually, after looking at the initial kind of proof of concept of what we're trying to accomplish here, I believe we moved that down to 7, Mark?
Yeah, we went, instead of 11 the first year, we went 7 and then moved the other 4 to 2025 since it only had 1. And so we'd do, 12 in 2 years, we'd do 7 the first year and then 5 the next year. We did that just by looking at the vehicles and which are more pressing. That way it has a little easier flow, not only this year, next year, but when replacement comes up, you don't have that huge number 4 years from now or 5 years from now, whatever that time is. So we had 11, but we've changed it on the final to go to 7 and 5. Make sense? On that same page that you're on, I think you're looking at this one, right? If y'all go to that, the proposed maintenance at, 7170 is where it would end up when we have all of them through the lease program. And like you say, that's you used the better term. I was going to say bucket, but you used
Risk pool.
risk pool. There you go.
There you go. And the risk is on us, by the way, on that.
Right, and so, 7170 would be what we would budget across our budgets. Wouldn't include car washing and that kind of stuff, but be drastically different than what we do today.
Yeah, I think, Mark, you hit on it. Fleet management to us is all about flatlining costs instead of having the peaks and valleys of big replacement years or high repair years. What we're trying to help you guys do so that you can better allocate capital asset or capital spending elsewhere is to know exactly what your spend is going to look like and be able to forecast for that as you guys grow as a city, as you take on new projects. I think I've said it a couple times, it can. But people don't we typically, most of our clients, depending on the application of the vehicle, we don't build that into the fixed rate, because different drivers do different wear patterns, different applications do different. So you can pay as you go on that, on brakes and tires, or we could build in a certain set that you're gonna use. But if our account manager comes and says, hey, you should turn over X amount of 50,000 mile vehicles that need tires in the next year or so, and you paid for it, then that's not great either. So one comment, there was no PD vehicles in the first round of 2024 budget year. The full maintenance, the fixed rate program is not available on emergency response. We can do it on deputy vehicles that are not emergency response or what have you, but not on the pursuit vehicles.
The staff vehicles.
Yeah.
That was my next question. As far as the replacement, we're replacing fleet cars for Public Works and stuff like that, and that's not including PD?
Yeah, the first year would be 6 pickups for Public Works, from parks to water to sewer, and then 1 staff vehicle on PD. That's not an emergency response vehicle, but it was a staff. It goes to PD, but not as a patrol vehicle.
But at one point, we're gonna be replacing those cars.
Correct.
What is the average cost on a car, PD car, that we're on right now, do you know?
So could they drive
Model.
Corvettes? Could they have police Corvettes?
Model, make, and then there's, we've seen where the vehicle, and then you make it a police vehicle, an extra anywhere from 15 to 40, $50,000. There's some that just go and have all kinds of stuff included in that.
So right now, we just completed the PD with the updated cars that we have, right? So we have some time to catch up to the new cars.
Correct.
Any questions or comments from the council? Sounds like a good idea. Is there a motion to be made?
I'll make a motion to approve the fleet management services with Enterprise Fleet Management.
Motion made. And I'll go ahead and second that. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, council.
At this time, we'll be discussing the acknowledgement of the city manager's reports. Mark, is there any updates on any projects?
I just wanted to mention, before the meeting started, it was asked about Veterans Memorial. They have a schedule now out to finish that in September, so we're probably looking at hopefully having some kind of ribbon cutting, opening ceremony of that, November the 11th, which was Veterans Day. I think it will fit perfect. Not sure that we can make that happen. Depends on who's available to come. We would like to have, of course, some high-ranking military folks to come speak, and so we'll be working towards that end as soon as we're more comfortable with the September deadline. Is, I think, like Terry said, first it was February and then it was May, and so we want to be sure of it until.
What's the holdup on that?
The center columns were blocked and you couldn't access them, so they're having to move them to the outside. It was an engineering issue, so they're covering the cost of that, but just getting it redone and started back up takes a little bit, because as they were redoing the engineering part of it, the contractor goes and does another job, and so has to finish that to come back. So I think they'll be on it. Street project is moving very slow, but it's a very deep sewer line on Alamo Street. If you get calls, I have to go by that way a lot. It's very inconvenient, but they're making progress and working every day. But those sewer lines are very deep, so every section they have to shore up the sides, and you just don't get very far in a day. So if you get complaints, it is slow, but they are working every single day on that. Once they get the line, and as they get further to the north, away from the lift station, it gets shallower, so it gets easier and it moves faster. So when they finish that one, they'll turn from Alamo Street to Como Street, which is by Dairy Queen. It's a 2-block section there. So it'll be pretty much the same in that area. And I think we've covered everything else, unless there's questions.
Any questions from the council? If not, there's a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the acknowledgement of department head reports.
Motion has been made
I'll second that.
and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye, raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye. All those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. Acknowledgement of department head reports. We have a total of 6. Any comments, questions? Mark?
We usually don't say much on this, but on page 217, I'll read it, but if you want to turn there, it's just the capacity. People ask this time of year, you know, what does capacities look like? Our water treatment plant is at 74.7% capacity, which is about 750,000. It'll soon change because our capacity will be 1.5 million. And we should be producing water any time now. Wastewater that comes in, our capacity right now is 68.2%, which is right about 682,000 gallons a day that we treat. So just wanted to mention that. Still use a lot of water this time of year, this summer, even though we're not supposed to water too much. Still higher than winter months is 550 to 650,000 a day.
It's a pretty interesting fact there. Thank you, Mark, for providing that. Any questions or comments about any of the head reports, department head reports? If not, if there's a motion to be made.
I'll make a motion to acknowledge the department head reports.
Okay, motion has been made
I'll second.
and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raise your hand. Aye. And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. Well, thank you for being here today at 7:04. We'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting. Thank you. Have a good evening.